It's National Sexual Violence Awareness Week. As a therapist, it's one of my specialisms. I work with people who've experienced trauma, abuse, ritualized abuse, rape. There's many different words we can use for sexual violence, but sexual violence is the umbrella term that encapsulates all kinds of trauma regarding to sexual activity. Now, I just wanted to record something to let people know that in my experience, there are many myths and stereotypes out there that prevent people from seeking help and support, often feeling like they can't access counselling. And the first one is being believed. So many clients come to me and say, I'm not sure anyone will believe me. And I want to say that as a therapist who's worked in this area for some time, we will always believe you. As a therapist, it's not our job to disprove anything. If anything, we want to sit with you. We want to tell you that you are right. You can be believed and heard in a way that you've never experienced before. The other thing is minimization happens a lot. So a lot of time people will come to me and say, it only happened once. It's not as bad as some people have had. It was only messages. I wasn't groomed. It was online. I didn't say no. I let it happen. And I really want to reach out and say that all of these things are forms of abuse. Sexual abuse and sexual violence doesn't have to be touching, full sex, penetrative sex. It doesn't have to be a male to female interaction. Women are abusers too. And I know that there's been a lot going on in the media in terms of, particularly recently, female perpetration. And I guess for me, whether this has happened once or several times, the impacts are still on you and still in your life. And therapy really is a way for you to work through that trauma and begin your healing journey. You know, sexual violence happens to us and can control our lives. It can consume our lives, and it leaks out in many ways, whether that's panic attacks and depression or reaching out in behaviour. It can be addiction, but there is always an impact. And even if we can squash it down, it only lasts for so long. So minimization is a really key point. The other thing is time. I have clients often say to me, oh, it doesn't matter, this happened 30 years ago, I should have learned to live with it by now, or I should have spoken about it then. And actually, it can be something that we can't actually ever say out loud, or if we do get to say out loud, it can take time. Sexual violence is often shrouded in secrecy, and we're told that it's not okay to talk about it. We're threatened, we're scared, we talk ourselves out of situations. We fear that if we get help, that choices will be taken away. And actually, therapy can be a really good space for you to regain control and recognise that you have choice and you can be empowered and take that choice back. Another thing I think is really important to say is the idea that the therapist will tell the police. And I need to kind of debunk this myth a little bit. So most of you who've had therapy will know at the beginning of the interaction, the therapist will say to you that if you are aware of anybody that's at risk of harm or abuse, then they may have to break confidentiality. And if you do know that the perpetrator is still involved in children and you choose to tell the therapist their whereabouts and their full name, then yes, we will always do something to protect the child. But that isn't necessarily done at the risk of you. It might be the therapist can report it anonymously. However, if the perpetrator has passed away, or you don't know if they're involved with any children, or you don't share any details, the therapist can't report this. So if you choose to seek therapy and not disclose any name, any details, or any information about your perpetrator, there is nothing the therapist can do to do this. And I'd like to think that myself, at least, would never take the choice of reporting out of your hands. Now, it can be a really difficult path to recognise that this episode or incident or series of incidents in your life can still have an impact on your daily life. But we know that one of the biggest areas is self-confidence, self-love and self-belief. And I really want to say that, if you're feeling any of these things or anything I've said describes you or your experiences, please reach out for support. There's so many agencies that will help you, so many therapists that are keen to work with you and make sense of your experience, to support you through your healing process, to help you make sense of your trauma, to change its shape and not allow it to control you so you can regain your strength and your power. It's really important that we call victims of sexual violence survivors, because you're all amazing, because from the moment these things happen to you, you begin to survive. And survival will get you on your feet. Survival will help you pick your life up. But survival and therapy will be the thing that will help you heal. So if you'd like any support or any information or somewhere or someone to talk to, please get in touch. You can find my Facebook page, it's Infinite Hope, or my website, which is www.infinitehope.co.uk. I'm also on Twitter as Infinite Hope 7 and on Instagram as Infinite Hope UK. Please be gentle and kind to yourself, and remember, if you or anyone else needs some support, reach out and ask for help. You don't have to be alone.